So these 8 border agents go out into the community and do visual scans, kidnap people, and take them and separate them from their families. In this instance, we as an organization went out there to videotape them to see what they were doing, because the community was saying, well, I can't get on the trolley anymore because I'm afraid that they're going to come and pick me up, or I'm not going to be able to get home that night. And that's what happened with a lot of families. Families that left their house to go to work never came back. And people were wondering, well, why? Kids, children, being left at schools, at daycare centers, saying, well, their parents didn't come, we don't know where they're at, we can't get a hold of them, nobody's answering their phone. And these children becoming wards of the state. And so what we have here is a policy of state terrorism in our community. And that's the way we call it, because that's the way it needs to be stated. Because that's exactly what it is. And they put us in a situation where workers, working people, are subjected or put into the terrible situation where first, in order to even get into the U.S., they have to cross mountains and deserts. And it's a very sick policy because they figure that if they cross a mountain and the desert, that they're strong enough and capable enough to take on the heaviest work with the least pay. And the sickness of this policy is that it's a very calculated policy of death. They know already how many people are going to die. They say, based on the number, this is how many people we expect to die this summer or this winter. So you have mountains and people in mountains and deserts, dead, bloated bodies dying in the mountains and desert as a product of a U.S. policy to push workers to their death. And so the policy of this state terrorism is meant not to stop migration, but to regulate it. To regulate who comes in, how they're going to be exploited, how they're going to come in, and who's going to benefit. And it's going to benefit specifically multinational capitalism. The same sick problem that has come into Mexico and taken our resources now exploits cheap labor in the form of undocumented migrants. And so we understand clearly that this policy here of chasing our community down is precisely to instill fear into workers, to inject fear, to paralyze us so that we don't come out on May 1st. But the demonstrations of the recent past of 2006 demonstrate to us that our will is much stronger to continue to resist, to continue to organize ourselves, and to not allow us to be subjected to the sick, terrible slavery that this capitalist system has implanted for us. And so just to illustrate to you here, this is the U.S. Border Patrol. And they'll go on to buses, make visual scans, ask people for their documents. And then you'll see the evolution of the same. And and we've got to, recognize that and say it here that this type of state terrorism is in fact goes counter to their own constitution and laws. We say that because if you look at the video, they stop an entire bus. And that entire bus at that particular point, for any of you who studied law, is an arbitrary detention. It's an illegal detention. Because that person, if you look at this video in particular, they go through the back and they go through the front. And at that moment, that bus cannot simply just go. And so everybody on that bus is arrested at that particular point. And so they're taking people off and deporting them. So that's an arbitrary arrest. That's an illegal detention. And so we were able to, as a consequence of us being able to document this, to be able to respond and go to where they're at that particular point, is to then launch a campaign and a struggle, a popular struggle with an organized community to say that this has to stop. And we were able and successful to stop them from getting on buses and travel. The strategy that we use is to organize communities to let them know, number one, what their rights are.
Yes.
To know who they can call in the case and the event of that they see this in their neighborhoods, and to develop human rights committees in our own neighborhoods to be able to then not only educate what their rights are, recognize who and what kind of agencies they are, but be able to call a network of people to respond quickly and rapidly to these types of raids. And just to illustrate, I just want to illustrate you. There's more. This is ICE. We have a lot of this footage you can find on our website at the RazaRightsCoalition.org. But just to illustrate to you precisely what the sister was saying earlier, is how they go into homes, how they actually kidnap people from their homes, which home is supposed to be sacred, right? So this is ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that new state agency, terrorist organization that come and kidnap our people in the most Gestapo fascist-like way.
That's awful.
And so what we have here is a parent, two parents, a mother and a father, being taken from their homes at 6 in the morning, taken in unmarked vehicles. If you notice, their vehicles are not marked as to what agency they're from. And the one that they put there, the van, you'll notice doesn't even have license plates on it. It's a plain white vehicle. And this is what we see, is that these vehicles, unmarked vehicles coming into our communities, the agent, this organization never tells the people there who they are, never gives them a card as to where they're being taken. And so what we had to do is actually go and tell this organization, right, and tell it to their face that that their policy of state terror needs to change. Now it's mandatory because of these videos and this footage that we've been able to capture, that they have to tell that person where they're being taken, what detention center they're going to, and they have to give a number so that the family can call and find out where they're at. What is important here for us to illustrate is that we definitely have to fight back. We have to organize ourselves against this fascist type of policies. And to do that, I'm going to go ahead. We have much more video, but I know I'm limited in time. So I want to just illustrate to you what we see as a solution. And let's see if I can find that PowerPoint presentation now. See if it works. There we go. I know because of I'm going to go ahead and this is what I was talking to you about, how the flows of migration move out into the mountains and deserts. That's a map of the U.S. border. But one thing to illustrate very clearly to us is that the strategy of a legalization bill, as important as it is, and as important as we move forward in demanding that, because we're not asking anymore. We're not putting ourselves on our knees with hand in hand, asking anything. We're demanding our full rights as human beings.
Right on, brother. Right on. Right on, brother. Right on.
And so this policy of the premises of the war against terror now shifts under Obama as a strategy on war against drug trafficking. Not going to get into it, but all we have to say is that they know who the drug traffickers are. We've said before, and we'll say it again, that the White House is the crack house. They are the ones who are sending and protecting those cargo of whether it be drugs, whether it be marijuana, whether it be cocaine, whether it be opium, because we understand that the CIA, Karzai's brother out there is on the CIA payroll, and he himself is known for being a papito dealer, right? A poppy grower.
Right.
So we say that there has to be a resistance to the militarization of the border in our society, and the only way we can do it is through organization. And we appreciate, again, the opportunity to come and speak to you tonight